Mecha-Streisand.
Welcome back to ManBearPod, the podcast that chronologically follows every episode of South Park and discusses what they've seen. I'm Dan.
I'm Misty.
And welcome back. And we are on Mecha-Streisand Season 1, Episode 12, original air date February 18th, 1998. This is a week after Tom's rhinoplasty. So South Park is back in its normal schedule because, like, all those other episodes were separated by a couple of weeks. So South Park's really hot right now, guys. It is 1998. South Park is one of the number one shows on cable, one of the most controversial shows on cable, but it's hot. It's hot. Comedy Central walks up to Matt Stone and Trey Parker and says, every celebrity wants to be on this show. Who do you want? Who do you want? Before we get into that, though, let's get to the plot of the episode. Well, not really the plot. We'll talk about the big thing about this episode. Mecha-Streisand. For those of you old enough, you recognize the name Streisand. It is a big 30-minute episode. Just in wrestling, we call it burying. When you are literally just roasting the fuck out of someone on a personal level and going after them. They were burying Barbra Streisand. Why? Why were they burying Barbra Streisand? Here's a little did you know. So Colorado that year passed Amendment 2 in its state constitution, which did not recognize homosexuals as, how do I put this? Did not protect homosexuals' civil liberties and rights, which made Barbra Streisand say publicly, well, I'm never going to perform there again. That state is a bunch of hicks. And Matt Stone and Trey Parker went, okay, it's on. And that's where we got this episode.
It's on.
Now, I don't want anybody to think that Matt Stone and Trey Parker were for Amendment 2. In fact, if you go back to Big Gay Al's Big Gay Boat Ride, it's very clear that where Matt Stone and Trey Parker stood on homosexuality and everything like that. This, though, was a case of a celebrity thinking that they know better than the general public, and maybe in this instance, Barbra Streisand did, but calling a whole state a bunch of hicks, that's a little too far. And what you're doing when you're saying that, I mean, if I'm Matt Stone or Trey Parker, oh, she's calling me a hick. She's calling my mom and dad hicks, you know? I'm not saying this wrong makes a right or two wrongs make. I'm not saying any of that, but you can understand where Matt Stone and Trey Parker were coming from. Like, fuck you. Who are you? You're you're the lady from Rent, like Yentl and Funny Girl, and you sing. That's about it. Whatever. So this is Matt Stone and Trey Parker defending themselves, their families, all that stuff by making Mecha-Streisand. Now, back before when the Comedy Central producers were like, who do you want? Who do you want in this episode? We can get anyone. Trey Parker wanted Robert Smith from The Cure because Disintegration is one of the greatest albums ever, and that's just facts.
So Robert Smith is one of the first celebrities to actually voice himself, either themselves or a character, because prior to this,
I'm advertising sugar-free Starry. They need all the advertisement they can get. It's Starry. It's like Sierra Mist. And that's it. That's all.
So before Robert Smith had this, guest starring role, the only other, I would say, celebrities, we're not counting Natasha Henstridge,
because
she
celebrities played it,
were Jay Leno, who played the cat, and George Clooney, who played Sparky the dog.
And Jay Leno plays the cat in a later episode. I want to say.
Oh, I thought it was season 1.
No, well, it might be. I don't know. I don't remember it, but I do remember Jay Leno coming in as the cat at some point. I want to say it might have been it wasn't the movie. No. You're right. He does play the cat in the
It's an early episode.
yeah, where Shelly invites the boyfriend over, but we're not at that episode yet.
Okay, well, there's several episodes with cats in them.
There is. We will
So-
eventually get to the Jay Leno episode, and that was in itself just like a little, like almost like an inside joke. Like, hey, remember when we had George Clooney play the dog? Well, here we
Yeah.
go, Jay Leno playing the cat. So let's get to the plot of this episode. And by the way, this episode of Man Bear Pod is in spooky vision. Don't be freaked out by the images of Barbara Streisand right here. We just thought it'd be a fun little nod to South Park if we put it in spooky vision with Barbara Streisand's face everywhere. So for those of you who don't know Barbara Streisand, I think the best way to be like, this was her. If Meet the Fockers plays Ben Stiller's mom. That's the last thing I saw her in.
Yeah, well-
honestly, and her movies are just like, her film appearances are very rare nowadays.
I've never seen any of her films, not
Mm.
not that I can think of. So okay, so what little, like, I know a little bit about her, but like most of what I know about her comes from that freaking Kevin Kline movie In and Out.
It was just a great movie.
Because he was a huge Barbara Streisand
Which
fan.
honestly, that In and Out. This has turned into the In and Out podcast. That movie is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I fucking love that movie. It has it's a weird plot setup for one of his students to win an Academy Award and be like, "Andy, my teacher's gay." But like that whole build to Kevin Kline coming out, and then that scene where he's dancing.
Yeah. Good movie.
Anyways.
That movie came out around 97, 98, actually.
Yeah, it did. Let's get to the plot. During a field trip to an archaeological dig, I gotta learn to read, Cartman discovers a mysterious stone triangle, which he promptly throws away without interest. Shortly after Kyle picks it up, the guide identifies the writing on the triangle as Anasazi. Kyle appears on television to discuss the find, resulting in a jealous Cartman wanting the triangle back. So there's that plot between Cartman and Kyle. Leonard Maltin, film critic in the 90s, comes to South Park and asks Chef whether he's seen Barbara Streisand. Maltin, having seen Kyle in the triangle on television, tells Chef that the boys are in great danger. So Streisand herself finds the boys and at the bus stop and demands the triangle of Zinthar, and gets aggravated when they reject her. As they search for Streisand, Maltin tells Chef she is seeking the boys' triangles to complete a powerful and ancient relic, the Diamond of Pantheos, which will allow her to become an evil and dangerous creature capable of conquering the world. He explains the diamond was originally split into two pieces and hidden at different hidden at different points of the world, but Streisand has managed to find the first of the two while filming like Funny Girl or Yentl, whatever. Streisand later dons a disguise and visits the boys again, offering them a monetary reward for the triangle. Eventually, Streisand kidnaps the boys, gets the other triangle, becomes Mecha-Streisand, and then to defeat Mecha-Streisand, Leonard Maltin calls on the Force. That is Robert Smith. And then Sidney Poitier gets involved, and they defeat Mecha-Streisand. They get the triangles back. Kyle says no one should have this power, throws it away. End of the episode. Ike gets into it, turns into Mecha Ike. It's a fun
Ike.
gag. So this episode is heavily influenced by Japanese kaiju films, such as Godzilla. In fact, some of the celebrities that turn into kaijus are, Sidney Poitier turns into a big giant turtle, which is a Godzilla reference. Robert Smith turns into Mothra, and Leonard Maltin turns into Ultraman. And I love that there's an Ultraman reference because I loved Ultraman when I was a kid. You don't know, you didn't.
I never heard of Ultraman, but I loved watching like Godzilla and King Kong. and
Not
stuff
Matthew
like that.
Broderick Godzilla, I hope.
No.
Okay, good.
I mean, I saw it and I hated it.
It had a dope soundtrack.
Teenage me hated it.
It had a dope soundtrack. I'm just saying. I can forgive a movie a lot if the soundtrack is fucking awesome.
It was just Hollywood trying to make some money.
Oh
That's
yeah,
all
sure.
it was.
Well,
It was a lame ass movie.
so like Independence Day was popular, so they were trying to capitalize on that.
Yeah, the disaster.
Those disaster movies with sci-fi and
Day After
Jurassic Park.
Day After Tomorrow too.
Mhm.
I did not like that movie either.
But they were just like, what if Independence Day and Jurassic Park met? And then somebody was like, that's Godzilla. Bingo! Get him a check. And Godzilla just looked like a big giant raptor. It was weird. So this is a heavily. So if you like kaiju, this is the episode for you. Again, lots of shitting on Barbara Streisand. It is just like line after line after line. The fact that she's Mecha-Streisand turns into like Mecha-Streisand, all stuff, but like they call her a bitch several times.
They talk about her nose being huge.
In her Colorado condominium, if you are like a background lover, if you love catching things in the background, they have a picture of her and Satan, with Satan having a personalization towards her, like, it was great seeing you, or see you again soon, Satan. How did you feel about the bashing of Barbara Streisand?
I thought it was funny. I mean, I like whenever she first shows up at the bus stop looking for the triangle from the boys. She says did she say, "Do you know who I am? I'm an important person," or something like that. And she starts to sing, and Stan goes, "Dude, this sucks." And then she says to Bar Brady,
Barbrader.
Bar Brady, "You know who I am, don't you?" And she's, waiting for like someone to like freak out.
Bar Brady says, "You're Fiona Apple?" He says, "No.
Nope.
Well, I'd only care about Fiona Apple." And that's when Fiona Apple's first album was out at the time. And Fiona Apple, I want to compare Fiona Apple's fame of that first album. Like, people were freaking out about her like they did Billie Eilish today. Like, but like, I truly believe Fiona Apple would have reached that level, but MTV Music Awards, middle fingers in the air.
She didn't want it.
Middle fingers in the air.
I think she's very talented.
Yes, no, Fiona Apple's great. Fiona Apple's just great. Yeah. So Robert Smith plays himself.
Hell yeah.
Like I said, Trey Parker, huge fan of The Cure. Disintegration, the greatest album of all time. It's even said in this episode by Kyle at the end. Robert Smith recorded his lines on the phone, and they even kept the deadpan delivery. They didn't tell him to deliver anything. They were just like, boom.
Yeah.
And, Trey Parker said this is like one of the best moments ever in his life, working with Robert Smith, and Robert Smith in return was just like, "Oh, that means so much that someone would say that," and he loved the show. And I'm sure they've become good friends. I mean, I don't know these people, I don't hang out with them every day, but it seemed like a friendship was formed over this episode. This was the episode where my mom tried to step in and tried to get my dad is like, no more, because she fucking loved Barbara Streisand.
Really?
Oh, God, my mom loved all those singers. Just all those women. To me, like, Bette Midler, okay, Mom.
I like Bette Midler.
You're fucking, okay, Bette Midler, not gonna do Streisand. She took us to a Streisand concert when I was little.
Oh, really?
At the Woodlands Pavilion.
Really?
Yes. And I don't remember much, but I remember just like, none of these songs are banger. This is just... And her voice, I'm not going to say it's a bad voice, because who am I? It's an acquired voice. Like some people dug Amy Winehouse's voice. Some people didn't. But I don't know. With Barbara Streisand, it was just kind of...
I don't know. Like, I always liked Bette Midler.
Yeah, Bette Midler.
And like all of her acting roles more so than her singing roles. And because she just plays this, like, most of the time, like, loud, rash, brat,
Yeah.
Like, anyway, I really liked her, but I'm just like, Barbara Streisand, who's that,
My dad did not budge, because my dad was a starch Republican. And starch. Starch. We'll go with starch. He had really nice laundry. My dad was a staunch Republican, and did not like it when celebrities spoke out on issues like that. But
Mm-hmm.
back in the day, like if a celebrity speaks out now, like it was different in the 90s. In the
Mm-hmm.
90s, it was done with this "I'm better than thou" and "I know more" type of tone, like a wagging of the finger. And it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't to just like the other political side. It was like to the middle class. It was like to the general public. I know more than you because look at me. I'm a fucking
Yeah.
celebrity. I there's even an episode of South Park of the smug episode, and that episode is based on George Clooney's acceptance speech, where he even said, "We're
That's right.
our fingers are on the pulse of shit." But like back in the '90s, this was a thing, and it's hard to get a conversation going. It was hard to get a conversation going in the '90s, especially on issues like homosexuality and issues like this. When you have celebrities who are just like wagging the finger at what
Yeah.
you believe. Nowadays, celebrities, like, yeah, some of them can like go over the line and alienate people. And I haven't seen a celebrity like really make like an acceptance speech like that since Ricky Gervais called him all out when he was hosting the Golden Globes. I haven't
Yeah.
seen a celebrity like make a stand.
Uh-huh.
But like nowadays, they go to Twitter, you know,
Yeah.
and they're just like, they share an article and say, this is wrong. But back then, it was just like every fucking award show, someone had to make a statement.
Mm-hmm.
Someone had to act like they knew everything that was going on.
I mean, honestly, if you really think about it, though, if you're a celebrity, your life's crazy and hectic. You don't have your finger on the pulse of shit.
No,
You
you
know,
don't.
you're on TV shows, you're on film sets,
Mhm.
you know, you're doing interviews and press junkets and
But like,
blah blah blah
yeah,
blah
more
blah.
importantly,
Like,
you live a very, I mean, not to say you're not talented.
It's but if you're a celebrity, it could be a very insulated existence.
Sure, sure.
You know, you
But it's not the life of an everyday American.
exactly.
And I'm not saying these people aren't talented or anything, but it is just a vastly different life. The
Yeah.
tax bracket alone is very different. Like the difference between me and Barbara Streisand right now is if I were to get sick where I need to go to the hospital, right, we'd be in debt. Barbara Streisand would be just fine. She's married to James Brolin. It's fine. Yes, that James Brolin, father of Josh Brolin. It's a whole thing.
I got James Brolin and Josh Brolin mixed up, and I was like, wait, isn't Barbara Streisand like way older than Josh Brolin? I totally forgot there
One,
was a James Brolin.
It doesn't help
Excuse
that
me.
it doesn't help that Josh looks exactly like
They
James.
do look a lot alike, yeah.
The only difference between James and Josh is James has like all white hair, while James
Yeah.
Brolin is Thanos.
Josh
Brolin.
You
Josh
said
Brolin.
James.
James is the father of Thanos, and then Barbara Streisand would be the stepmom of Thanos. So consider the source. It's the stepmom of Thanos. Fucking.
I love that.
So Leonard Maltin is also in this episode. He was a movie critic, not named Siskel or Ebert, right?
Yeah.
Leonard Maltin. First of all, Leonard Maltin was cool. He loved his
Yeah.
portrayal in this episode. He's kind of presented as the hero of the story.
Yeah.
He is the one that needs to gather up Robert Smith, Cindy Poitier, and they need to defeat Barbara Streisand. And that is the weirdest combination right there.
Yeah.
If I had Matt Stone, Trey Parker in front of me, I'd ask, why Leonard Maltin? Why Sidney Poitier? I get Robert Smith, hero of yours. You want him in the episode? Cool.
Mhm.
Why Sidney Poitier, Leonard Maltin? I just want to. They don't make fun of him at all or anything. They're just the hero characters. Leonard Maltin loved his portrayal and became an instant fan of the show. But Barbara Streisand was not happy with this episode at all. At all. Juvenile is what she said. Juvenile. So they doubled down and have made her an ongoing joke for
I
at least
love
like
that.
2 or 3 more years.
I love that.
But yeah, no, this episode, they're still like the animators are still trying to figure stuff out in this
Mhm.
episode. So if you watch this episode, you'll notice when Leonard Maltin and Chef are riding in the car. In the background is real life footage of Colorado Highway. It's because animators did not even know, like, they didn't even know how to do like driving on the road perspective
Uh-huh.
in that form of animation. So they
Okay.
had to use real footage of a Colorado
Mm.
highway. Fun little tidbit. Um, there's also, oh gosh, I forgot. Let me get back to my cheat sheet real quick. There's a lot in this episode. There's a lot. Um, the cultural references. We did the kaiju. Um, oh, before Leonard Maltin turns into Leonard Maltin Man, which is like the copy of Ultraman,
Okay.
he says something in Japanese. He does this Japanese chant, translated, listen, listen, here's a tulip, which Trey Parker said is a phrase Japanese children say before passing gas. At least that's what it was in 1998.
I love that.
I hope nothing's changed in Japan. And if anyone of Japanese, if any Japanese person is watching this, please keep doing that. That is the funniest fucking thing I have ever heard in my life. I'm going to incorporate it into my own life. Here's a tulip and fart. That's so goddamn funny to me. During the fight scene, a number of skyscrapers are shown getting destroyed. Parker, who acknowledged the buildings were never featured in any South Park episode, said they were modeled after real-life skyscrapers in Denver and included Mecha-Streisand only so they could get destroyed during the monster fight, a frequent element of battles in real Japanese monster films. Musical elements from the Hanna-Barbera cartoon Super Friends are also featured in this battle. Actress Sally Struthers, who was previously lampooned in the South Park episode, Starvin' Marvin, is briefly seen during a scene of Mecha-Streisand.
She's filming a scene with Sidney Poitier,
Mm-hmm.
and she has chocolate in her hand,
Mm-hmm.
and he says something about what did he say? Something about getting something shoved up his butt or something.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. It was like the end of a line, but I had to throw that in there.
As Robert Smith walks into the sunset at the end of the episode, a version of The Cure's "Let's Go to Bed" is played on Japanese lute or biwa. Officer Barbary makes a reference to singer Fiona Apple. And yeah, no, reception and release.
Yeah.
This was, and this is going to be coming up often. This record's going to get broken by the time we get to the next episode. This did a 6.9 Nielsen rating, which in 1998 was fucking insane, translating to 5.4 million viewers in 3.2 million households. At the time, it was a record high viewership for a South Park episode, breaking the record that was set earlier by Damien and was 10 times the average of Comedy Central's non-South Park programming.
Wow.
So basically, they shat on Barbra Streisand in front of everyone. That is absolutely amazing. This would be the highest rated episode in the history of South Park until Scott Tenorman Must Die. Which blogs my mind, because I would think the next episode, the finale, is where the record viewership would happen. So that shocks me.
Scott Tenorman Must Die is one of my favorite.
Oh, I can't wait! I can't wait to get to that one. I'm gonna make you eat my pubes in that episode of ManBearPod. Parker and Stone were very happy with the episode, but received feedback from the fans that it was one of the weaker episodes of the first season, and that the constant jokes about Barbra Streisand started to grow redundant. Many fans also did not like Kenny's tetherball accident death scene.
I thought that was funny.
Because it had nothing to do with the plot of the episode, which Parker and Stone said was supposed to be the joke.
Yeah. Duh.
Streisand herself took a negative review of her portrayal, stating in a Marabella interview. Marabella was a high-class magazine, basically for all the stay-at-home moms that wanted to be something much more than they were. My mother.
Wow.
Her quote, I wasn't even aware of this show until I read in Time magazine that they had used me in a very negative way. Let me say that I enjoy satire and parody. I loved the movie In and Out. It made me laugh. It wasn't mean-spirited. But I wonder if shows like South Park and Beavis and Butthead don't add to the cynicism and negativity in our culture,
Uh,
especially in children. These youngsters are formulating their attitudes, and maybe they come away feeling that any woman who dares to accomplish something is the incarnation of self-centeredness and greed, and that would be very unfortunate, especially for young girls. Direct quote from Barbara Streisand. You see how she just deflected, like she doesn't mention what she did to get all. You called a whole state a bunch of hicks, and now so the little. Hold on, Barbara. Hold on. Let me get close. I'm like that guy from TikTok. Get close. Look, I would go on. I would back your statement up 100%. But let's think about all the little girls in Colorado you called hicks. There we go. You fucking hypocrite. That's a good point, right? That's a good point? Or am I talking out my ass here? Parker and Stone created the second season episode Spooky Fish in response to that quote,
Nice.
where Spooky Vision came from.
Yay.
Leonard Maltin loved it. Mecha-Streisand was released along with 11 other episodes in a 3-disc DVD set in November 1998. It was included in the third volume. Boom. Parker and Stone recorded commentary tracks for each episode, but they were not included with the DVDs due to standards issues with some of the statements. Parker and Stone refused to allow the tracks to be edited and censored, so they were released in a CD separate from the DVDs. In 2008, Parker and Stone made Mecha-Streisand and all South Park episodes available to watch for free on the show's official website, South Park Studios. This episode was revisited 12 years later in the show's 200th episode, along with many other past South Park storylines, featuring a redesigned Mecha-Streisand. During a duet with Neil Diamond, Mecha-Streisand lets out a green cloud from her groin that disgusts the people of South Park. The original Japanese theme song for the creature also plays in the episode. The Mecha-Streisand featured in 200 is designed with more sophisticated computer imagery than the original, as the animation quality of the series has improved over the years in general. So yeah, favorite moment of the episode, Misty.
Oh, shit. I mean, I have God damn it. Actually, it's what I already talked about.
Yeah,
When
go ahead.
she was like, "I'm an important person," and she starts to sing, and Stan goes, "Dude, this sucks." Like that.
All right, my favorite episode is no, my favorite moment is someone tells Cindy Poitier that Leonard Maltin's looking for him, and
Uh-huh.
Cindy Poitier goes, "Oh, guess Barbara Streisand found the triangle." I don't know why. I was just like, that's just like it's happened before. That's what
Yeah.
I loved about it. Big question. Big question. Does it hold up, Misty?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I'm like, fuck if I know. Like,
I
I
mean,
don't really know very much about Barbara Streisand. I don't think people, like, without any research.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
how are people
It-
like younger people gonna know what's going on?
for me, it does, but it doesn't. So would I show this to like a Gen Zer or a younger millennial? No, I wouldn't. Because like you said, like a lot of people don't know who Barbara Streisand
Yeah.
is. A lot of young people. But for someone our age or older, definitely would.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that with me. First of all, the episode is made in response to a celebrity
Yeah.
that's
Well-
talking shit.
And this is the first time that they actually make fun of a celebrity not through referencing.
Not through references, direct
Yeah,
hit.
this is the first
You are all
time
about the episode. Like
that,
this.
that a celebrity they're making fun of as a character in the episode.
It is, and it's also the first episode where a celebrity is pretty much in the episode title. Like
Yeah.
you see the episode title, you know what this is going to be about. This is just an episode on just a big fuck you with and it does. What I love about this episode is it goes from a fuck you to Barbara Streisand to a love letter of the Cure's Disintegration album.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if they're trying to make a commentary on what music is better,
Uh-huh.
but that Disintegration album is pretty fucking sick.
So
I mean, look at our shirts. Like, we have different music taste here, obviously. I love the Foo Fighters. She's okay with My Chemical Romance. She's okay with it. But we
yeah.
both love the Cure.
Yeah.
You know, just like heaven. My favorite
Love that
Cure
song.
song, Hot, Hot, Hot. Fucking love that song. But that's why so you know what? I would show this to Cure fans.
Yeah.
And I would show it to somebody that was my age or older and be like,
Okay.
oh, did you ever see that South Park where
Yeah.
South Park shat on Barbara Streisand? No? Okay. Because seriously, it's 25 minutes of just calling her a bitch, calling her evil. I swear, like 6 or 7 characters call her a bitch in this episode.
Yeah. Oh my god, there's a lot of like jokes about how big her nose is.
Oh, they went hardcore. And Barbara does have a point that, you know, in and out, they did it in satire. And, you know, yes, this was mean spirited. It was mean spirited because the creators of the show are from Colorado. They have family in Colorado, and you called them all a bunch of hicks. And that's the thing about celebrities, or less the celebrities at the time, they never held themselves accountable for
Yeah.
anything. Is, oh, someone attacked me. I mean, reading the quote, just I used the voice. I mean, that's a terrible Barbara Streisand impression, but like the words that how she put everything, you wouldn't hang out with her. I wouldn't go to her concert. She did. It was a very pretentious, like just to deflect it, make it about little girls. When you called a whole state X. Anyway, I've made that point. I've made that point. But that concludes this week's episode of Man Bear Pod. Next week, Misty, we got it. Cartman's mom is a dirty slut. We made it. We made it to the season 1
Yay.
finale. And boy, that's going to be an episode to discuss. Not so much the episode in and of itself, but the aftermath of the episode. And then when we get to season 2, episode 1, there's going to be even more aftermath to talk about. So stick around. Thank you for being subscribed to the channel. If you haven't already, go ahead, hit subscribe, hit that little bell notification on the YouTube, and always know when we got something new up, whether it be a short, whether it be a full episode. Thank you to all of our Spotify listeners, all of our followers on TikTok and Instagram. And if you haven't followed us on the social media platforms, just type in ManBearPod,
ManBearPod.
and there we are. There we are. We got a number of things on TikTok that you don't see on YouTube. We got a number of things on Instagram that you don't see on TikTok because
Yeah.
we're unorganized like that. But it's been another one, Mecha-Streisand in the books for ManBearPod. I'm Dan.
I'm Misty.
And we'll see you next time.